All right, welcome to Thursday. We're going to launch into our lesson today. You can see from the title, it's going to be on surface area of circular cylinders. Today's lesson is going to be a little bit shorter, which I hope we're all in for that, and we'll have one homework problem. So let's jump into it. The goal today is to be able to say, I can find the surface area of circular cylinders. So first of all, let's take a look at a cylinder. I'm sure you have seen cylinders before, and remember in this class they specified that cylinders can have different bases. They kind of liken them to prisms. So here we notice that they call it a circular cylinder because the bases are circles. We have these two congruent circles on either end, and then we have this piece that wraps around the middle. Now you can see the net there, and you can notice that it's composed of two congruent circles and then that rectangle that wraps around the middle. So really when we break it down, it's two circles and a rectangle. Now, do we know how to find the area of a circle? Do we know how to find the area of a circle? And the correct answer is yes, we do. So you guys notice over here, they gave us a formula. They say surface area equals 2 pi times r h plus 2 pi r squared. Okay, that just sounds like a bunch of stuff that I have no idea what they're talking about, but let's break it down because you guys actually, we won't break this whole formula down, but there's a part of it that should seem very familiar to you. So, first of all, formula for area of one circle. Formula for area of one circle. You guys remember what the formula was? It was pi times r squared. Do you see that in the formula? Do you see that in the formula? You should see it right here, pi r squared. You notice that's times 2. I wonder why it is times 2. Why do you think we have to take pi r squared times 2? Because we have two circles, right? So we have to double that number. Now, we're not going to go completely into the second part, but quickly, this length right here is actually the circumference of the circle, right? Because it has to match up to the circle. So to find circumference of the circle, that's included in this portion over here. So basically, and again, we're not going to go into this whole formula. Basically, you can think that this first part here, this finds the area of the rectangle, and this last part over here finds the area of the two circles. Okay? And again, we're just going to plug into it and use it to help us. Next year, I'll probably go deeper into where the formula comes from, but that's quickly what's happening in the formula. Today, we're going to be using 3.14 for pi, so without further So taking a look at our first and only example, we have our formula here, 2 pi r times the height plus 2 pi times radius squared. So we are going to plug everything in, and then we're going to talk about how we do it. Before we start plugging everything in, we first need to identify the radius and the height. Now, we know in a circle, all the way across is called the what? Anybody? If you know what it is, say it out loud so you know that you got it right. And it is diameter, okay? Diameter. And halfway across we know is the radius. So they gave us the radius, which is 4 inches, okay? So we can put that underneath here. The radius is 4. Height. How tall is this cylinder? We can see it is 10 inches. All right, let's start plugging in. So you guys see the formula right here, and I'm just going to plug in step by step. And maybe I'll cross it off as we go so you guys see what I'm doing. So we have 2. So I'm going to bring the 2 up to start us off. Then we have the pi. Now we're going to use 3.14 to represent our pi here as a rounded version of pi. Sorry, I struggle with my decimal points here. They get angry at me. Okay, 3.14, got that in. The radius is 4, so I'll drop that in up there. And we have that from down at the bottom. We chose that from our cylinder that the radius was 4, so the radius is in. Now we need to drop the height in, and it is 10. Okay, then it is a plus sign. Okay, then we have 2 again, so we have plus. Now let's put the 2 up there. Then times pi, we're going to use 3.14 once again. And then last thing, radius squared. Radius squared, the radius, we found it to be 4, so 4 squared is, anybody? 16, good. Okay, so we have a lot of stuff written out. Let's talk about it. So we have, and I'll draw something and then we'll erase it. So we have 2 times 3.14 times 4 times 10. Then we have a plus sign. Then we have 2 times 3.14 times 16. Now, following order of operations, what should we do first? Do we do multiplication or addition first? And the correct answer is what? Multiplication. So we can multiply all of this stuff to the left here and all this stuff to the right, and then we'll add at the end. So let me get rid of all these lines here. Let's try not to erase the problem. Okay, so jumping back into the problem, now we have 2 times 3.14 times 4 times 10. Does it or matter which order we multiply in? Does it? That commutative property, right, we can switch the multiplication around, and I would do that, right? It's going to make it a lot easier, and we won't have to write out the multiplication for every single one. So let's go 2 times 4 times 10, and then at the end, let's come back to 3.14, okay? So 2 times 4 is what? 8, and 8 times 10 is 80. All right, so now we have 80, and we need to multiply that by 3.14. I'm going to run out of room, I'm afraid. All right, we'll see what happens. Okay, so we have this 0 here now, and there's a decimal point there. We have that 0 there, so we can make a row of zeros, or remember, we can use that as our spacer. Just because we're so far away from each other, I'm going to make a row of zeros just to make sure we're not messing any of this multiplication up. All right, so we have our zeros. We leave a space. Now we have 8 times 4. Go ahead and write it down if you know what it is. You should be getting out 32. Be careful of those math errors, those silly mistakes. They're easy to make. 8 times 1 plus 3 is 11. Carry the 1. 8 times 3 plus 1 is, go ahead and write it down, 25. And we add these up. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. We get 0, 2, 1, 5, and 2. Now we need to place that decimal point. We need to put it over twice. So 1, 2, and we have 251.2, okay? 251.2. So that's what we got out of all this stuff over here. Woofta. So maybe I'll erase my work so we have some room here. Okay, so when we did 2 times 4, just a quick recap over here. 2 times 4 was 8. 8 times 10 was 80. And then we did 3.14 times 80, and we got 251.2. So I'm going to get rid of that work so we have some room to actually do this problem. Okay. Okay, and maybe I'll just rewrite 251.2 over here. And we'll erase this now. Okay, now we have some room. Now, we need to multiply the other side, and then at the end, we're going to add them up. So let's do it again. We could do some of this mentally. Remember that commutative property, when we have all multiplication over here, we can do it in any order we want to. So I'm going to do 2 times 16. I think most of you can do that mentally. If not, write it out. 2 times 16, double the 10, or double the 10s, and then double the 6, and we should be getting what? When we do 2 times 16, we should be getting 32, right? And now we need to take that to 3.14. All right, we'll see if we can fit this. All right, 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 3 is 6. We leave a space. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 1 plus 1 is 4. And 3 times 3 is 9. Let's add them up. Oh boy, where are we going to add them up? Can we add them up off to the side maybe? Let's do it. 8 and 0, I'm adding these two together. We get 8. Then 2 plus 2 gives me 4. And then 6 and 4 give me 10. I carry the 1. And 1 and 9 give me 10. And hopefully you guys have enough room so you're not doing it like I'm doing. Now, we need to place that decimal point. We need to move it over how many times? 2 times from the back, right? And we have 100.48. All right, so we have these two numbers, 251.2, 100.48, and then we have this addition sign, so now we need to add them up as our last step. Okay, so let's get rid of all of this. We have some room to do our adding. And really, we could get rid of all this stuff at the top. We just need to add these two numbers up as the last step in our formula, right? We did this whole part over here. We did this whole part over here. Now we're going to add them up. So write them on top of each other. So we have 251.2. You guys should be doing this too on your paper. Follow along. If you follow along, you're much more likely to remember it. And then we have that 8 back there. So 100.48, 251.2. Okay, let's add them up. Right, there's nothing to add with this 8. If you want to, you can fill in a 0. 0 and 8 give me 8. 2 and 4 give me 6. I bring down my decimal point. 1 and 0 give me 1. 5 and 0 give me 5. And 2 and 1 give me 3. So we got out 351.68. And this is surface area. This is the number of inch-by-inch pieces it would take to cover this. So it's going to be inches squared or square inches. And now you can see why you only have one homework problem and only one example. This is very straightforward. When you go to do your homework, you have the formula right here. I would just copy it over and then underneath plug in each of those numbers. Remember where it comes from though. This represents the circles, this represents the rectangle. Okay, and again, next year you'll get deeper into that. This is just to get you warmed up to it. So let's talk homework. All right, so for your homework, we are going to be mixing in some culturally relevant things into our homework. Some toilet paper, that's a very hot topic. Now, before we talk about toilet paper, I do want to point out, is this a true cylinder? No, it needs to be closed. But we're going to ignore that for today because we need to have some fun. All right, so you're going to find a roll of toilet paper if you have one. I hope you guys have toilet paper at your house. I'm down to my last 2 rolls, so we'll see how that goes. And I only have these 2 rolls because my cousins gave them to me, so maybe I'll have more luck at Target tomorrow. We'll see. But anyway, so first of all, you need to find a roll of toilet paper. We're going to treat it as if it is a cylinder, as if it is closed, okay? It's not going to affect any of our measurements. Then you're going to measure the radius and the height. Now, and I have my tape measure here. I don't have a ruler. When we measure the radius, well, first of all, if we measure all the way across, so I would round this to 3 inches. That's the diameter, right? You need half of that. So that would be 1.5. And again, we're rounding to the nearest whole. So 1.5 would round to what? 2, right? So is this going to be super exact? No, but we're trying to make numbers we can work with a little more easily. And then you're going to measure the height. So you'll want to write down my radius is 3, my radius is 2, depending on how big it is. This is kind of a small one. And then write my height down, okay? And I'm going to guess there's a standard height, so I'm not going to tell you how tall this is. Then, and you're going to round all those to the nearest inch. I don't want you working with any decimals, all right? I want you working with all whole numbers, even if it's not exact. Then you're going to use the formula, and I put it on this slide too, so if you want to use right underneath that, you can. And then you'll find your surface area. And then you're going to submit your answer to me through email. So if you have a way to take a picture and send it to me, that's fine. If you just want to type it out this time, that's fine. But you need to write down what the radius and the height is. Because if you just send me an answer, I have no idea if you got it right or wrong based on the numbers. So you'll say R equals 3, H equals whatever. My answer is blah, blah, blah. Okay, so not a big assignment, but I think it'll be an effective one. So we are wrapped up with Thursday. I hope you guys are having a good time at home. I really miss being at school. I feel like we have been quarantined for 2 weeks plus, and I'm recording this Wednesday night, so it's only my 3rd day. I'm going a little crazy. I have a feeling when we finally get back to school, I'm going to burst into tears of happiness because I'm going to be so excited to see all of you guys and be back there. But until then, we will enjoy our time at home. We'll spend time, we'll use it wisely, right? We'll use it for things that honor God. Make sure you're using that extra time and just a challenge to me and to you that we are using that time for prayer and also just spending time with our family. Please just enjoy it. So I'll see you guys in next time. Bye.